Hello, and you're very welcome along to another shit's JMAC podcast. I'm John Mann. Of course, the podcast is brought to you by Orgarech.com. Use the code JMAC podcast, get 15% off on their website. Coming into the All Ireland semi finals and Tailteann Cup final this weekend. Get yourself organised on Orgarech.com. And today I am joined by former Cork footballer Paul Kerrigan to talk about this weekend's All Ireland semi finals and, of course, the Tailteann Cup final. So, really look forward to chatting to Paul today. Paul, how are you?
I'm very good. Yeah, just looking forward to the games of the weekend. I suppose maybe the quarterfinals didn't set the world alight, but I'm really looking forward to. Hopefully, will be a couple of good games this weekend and a few interesting teams. Maybe a couple of teams who are surprised to be there, and maybe a couple of teams who haven't been there in a couple of years. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Absolutely. You're on holidays at the minute and you're in Kerry. Jesus Christ, someone must have to shake you.
Stop. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I'm off for a couple of months as a secondary school teacher,
Yeah.
but I suppose the real work starts then in the summer in your mind. The kids, like as you know yourself, like they can be tough enough to be running around after, but the good weather now makes a big difference. We've kind of been waiting nearly 2 years for a good summer, like so we
Yeah.
won't complain.
Absolutely, Paul. Absolutely. I suppose we can kind of start on Cork season that they had as well, Paul, and not a bad season by all accounts, and obviously a relatively good league campaign maybe to finish up, and then once the championship and All Ireland series. So how would you maybe reflect on Cork's year, Paul?
Yeah, a bad start and a bad end, really. Like you know what I mean. Probably the bad end left a bit of a sour taste for people. I know, like you're going to lose some championship games, some close ones, but it's probably the manner of defeat really probably left people question where we are. And in Cork, then we had a bad minor, bad under 20s. We were well beaten in both, so you're kind of questioning everything where the football is going, and obviously the hurling is going really well. So in Cork, you always have that kind of not debate, but thought process. You know what I mean, where they're weighed up against each other. But yeah, from the footballer's point of view, like bad start to the league, and then got a late goal against Fermanagh away for Fermanagh to turn things around. And I think they'd won maybe 7 out of 8 games, or they've only lost one, the Munster final being won. You know what I mean? And then a huge win against Donegal, which was unbelievable win, really. Like Donegal's only kind of defeat really the season, and and then kind of a close game against Tyrone. They probably feel they didn't finish strongly, and then probably out with a whimper against Loud. They were caught at the end with a breakaway and a free, but they were trying to hold the ball, probably a bit too cute. Probably felt they should have went for it a bit more against Loud. It's probably been a thing where teams in and around their level, we've struggled against them in the league and championship, whereas we've been able to rise it against really good teams in the last 2 years. We've beat Donegal this year, ran Kerry close the last 2 years, beat Mayo, beat Roscommon last year as well. So look, I like there's a lot of talk. John Cleary doesn't know if he's staying on. I'd be very hopeful if he would. You know what I mean? A really good guy, a steady guy. He's really brought, I would say, the floor up. You know what I mean, for the Cork footballers. Like we've a good baseline now of where we won't drop low. We just need to probably you might need to shake up the back room. You know what I mean? I think Kevin Walsh was there. They probably got their house in order defensively, but the one thing we do have coming through, we haven't got a whole pile come through at the moment, I'd say, but we've got good young forwards, Colin Manny and Corbett. So if we can maybe adapt to a way that'll help them flourish, you know what I mean? Because I think we've got a good spine now with the defence in Dan O'Mahony and Tommy Walsh and Colin McCallum midfield. Like they're really, really good players. So look, I'd hope John will stay on, and I think the priority has to be to get to Division One. You know what I mean? That's where it's at. And we can see like there's a couple of Division Two teams obviously in semi-finals, but being at that Division One level consistently is a good barometer of that you'll be there at the business end most years.
Mm. Obviously, the inclusion of Kevin Walsh into that backroom team this year, Paul, and as you said, there is a lot of organisation kind of gone into defence now, and there seems to be a lot of structure there. And obviously, we know the prowess and so his organisation and the quality that Kevin Walsh can kind of bring to a team. So, what influence he has kind of made in that team?
Yeah, I from talking to the lads, they were really impressed. Like attention to detail, unbelievable. Like footwork, body shape. I suppose he brings that from his basketball background as well. You know what I mean? They said that one-to-one coaching he was really good at. I would have felt a lot of the lads would have improved in their one-to-one defending and their body position and body control and all that. I think last year he had him in a very deep zone, I would say. You know what I mean? Inside their 45, and even at the start of the league, they had that as well. And I thought then it was a noticeable change in the championship. They started to defend a little bit more further out. And if you can, like that was highlighted really in the Donegal game. where they got a couple of turnovers around the middle, and that Matty Taylor goal where they were clean through, and I think Sean Powder made a turnover and they went through. So and they'd done the same previously in Clare in the championship in the Munster semi-final as well. I was up there myself, and it was very noticeable that they had a higher, let's say, line defensively. So they did adapt. Now it's whether Kevin wants to make the commute as well from Galway. I know he's coming down for weekends, a lot of it, Friday, Saturday, they might train Saturday, Sunday, just to accommodate him. But I do think he made a positive influence overall, and it's probably a lot to weigh up as whether John and him might want to change it up, or Kevin might want to commit, or he might look for a job himself. You know what I mean? He's I've read his book, and he's a very kind of, I would say, ambitious guy. You know what I mean? I think he loves coaching, so I do think he made a positive influence. But I just think maybe we need something on the attacking end as well to move up a level for Cork.
Yeah. Daniel Goulden, maybe get him back, get him involved.
He'd help him with the freeze, all right. We struggled a little bit with the freeze this year. Dan, geez, I played a Sigerson final, an under-21 final, All-Ireland senior final with Dan. I think he kicked at least 8 frees in each of them. I've a lot, actually, I know a lot of my medals, probably Dan, thinking of that. He could have something. But I know he's busy at home. Like myself, he's probably asked to get in a couple of underage development squads, but young families and still playing isn't conducive to that, I'm afraid.
Oh, geez, yeah, he'd be a fine addition, much like yourself. And I suppose, obviously, stability with Cork over the years, maybe Paul, maybe has been a bit of a problem with, chop and change of managers. Managers, I know maybe it has been Cork's pretty problem the last couple of years, but potentially some of the managers can leave. But stability is huge in any walk of life, Paul. And for this management team to stay put, to bring Cork to where we want to be, will be so important for the years ahead.
100%. I know it's a very happy camp, you know what I mean? From talking to the lads, there's a very happy group of players there. They're happy in general with the setup. And John's no fool either. He won't suffer fools inside there, you know what I mean? And that's a big thing. It might be different to other counties, but in Cork there can be a lot of chopping and changing because there's just so many players. There's different codes, there's different sports. That stability has been huge, and I think a lot of the guys who've been there a long time, like Ian Maguire, Brian Hurley, I think they appreciate that. You know what I mean? They were there in my time. In my time, I had, I think, 3 managers in 6 years or 7 years, and I think 7 or 6 different S&C coaches in 7 years. You know what I mean? And the panel was consistently churning out. The panel would change by a third every year. So there wasn't going. It's just not conducive to be in Division 1 or to the top end Division 2. We were very much a middling Division 2 team, and then we went down to Division 3 one year. So that stability is huge, I think. And that's another reason I hope John stays on, you know what I mean? And I think the players probably need that now. As I said, they've got a bar where they're probably going to be quite happy with, and now I think they're all eager to push on to the next level. I was talking to Ian Maguire only a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, it's great to be just going for that win now to get at the next level, not to just be trying to win to survive or, to put in a good performance or a moral victory. So, they're at that level, and that stability is huge. I know that from my own point. My first 6 years on the panel were Conor Coonan unbelievably stable. Same backroom for the most part. And then, as I said, we had 3 different managers in 7 years, different S&Cs, different backroom teams, constantly changing all year. And it was very, very tough. We had no training base at the time either as well. The park was being built, so the park ring was being used constantly. So we used to be finding club grounds around Cork, and it's a big county. You know what I mean? To go from a Tuesday in West Cork, Thursday in North Cork, Saturday in the city. You know what I mean? So stuff like that. So that stability that word used is a very important thing.
Yeah, and I suppose the usual thing and the usual analysis, probably lazy analysis to a degree. A lot of people are saying, the population and the size of Cork, but the clubs and everything. What do you maybe feel is maybe the problem for Cork, maybe to not try win a Munster championship and excel themselves in the All Ireland series? What do you maybe feel that maybe has been down to in recent years, Paul?
Yeah, I know we won a minor a couple of years ago. We won an All Ireland minor and 21 as well. I think in 2019. A lot of those lads at minor, the All Ireland haven't come through. You know what I mean? You speak of other sports. Patrick Campbell was their star full forward. He's from my club, Nemo. He went playing rugby. You know what I mean? And a lot of those guys got injured. Now we've got a couple through from the All Ireland under-20 winning team of 2019, like Mark Cohn and Colm O'Callaghan. But probably not enough. You know what I mean? And then I think coming down through the grades, like I'm a secondary school teacher, and we've coached the secondary school level. Like we haven't really been competitive in Munster, like which was a big thing. We had like the last time the Cork school won Munster was 2011. You know what I mean? So I think that probably needs a bit of sorting out. It's probably they're talking about that kind of now, try to get that up to a higher level. I know for a lot of counties, winning underage success doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be successful at senior level. Like Kerry, if they get one or two through to the seniors every couple of years. But for Cork, like anytime we've been successful before the 2010 All Ireland, we won multiple Munsters and 2 under-21 All Irelands throughout that decade previously. If you go back to the 1989, 1990s, they won 3 under-21 All Irelands in the mid-80s. So I think we need that success and just to at underage level to get the bodies through to playing with Cork. And as you see, then people go to other sports at underage, even off a lot of junior players, they go play hurling. Like the amount of fellas who could play senior football, you could probably half a dozen fellas who could play senior football around the senior hurling panel now. You know what I mean? And then, as I said, we've a couple lads go to rugby and soccer and have you. But I think, I just think we need to start turning out maybe underage. We're not even competitive really the last 2 years with Kerry. You know, and that's underage. Like it's all whatever senior level you might get a hammering the odd couple of years, but not at underage level, and that's happened recently. So I think the schools will be a big thing for me, and we're at the end of a 5-year plan. We need to review maybe what we've done well and what we haven't done well, and start getting the quality coming through it from under 18, under 19, under 20 level.
What do you kind of feel is Cork's going to be ceiling for the next few years, Paul? And obviously, keeping that management team, keeping the width load players, and keeping all the main guys right. I suppose what do you maybe feel is the ceiling for this Cork team, say in the next maybe 5 years?
I think like we have like maybe Brian and Ian Maguire. Like I don't know, do we definitely for Ian, do we have any ready-made replacement? John midfield. I think so. I think maybe the ceiling could be definitely semi-final. A couple of semi-finals would be the ceiling. Do I think they'll win the All Ireland? Be a really tough ask. No, I do think it's getting a bit more condensed at the top. You know what I mean? I think maybe Dublin and Kerry are coming back a little, and the pack is catching up, which is interesting, which is good. But I think maybe a couple of semi-finals would be a really good ceiling from where we are. Because up to this year we were in the quarters. I think maybe 3 times in the last couple of years. So I think the semi-final. And then, as I said, getting to Division 1, like staying in Division 1, being competitive will help that.
I suppose, Paul, do you buy this sort of, a lot of people saying, like the population, the size and bits of pubs like that. Do you buy all that sort of stuff or in terms of like people saying that, if you get me?
Well, it is a bit of an advantage. Like, I remember when we were in Division 3, like, there's a bit of a preview saying, Cork will cruise it, like, because like things like that, their population numbers low. And I was like, no, I doubt that, but we did. You know what I mean? It's just when you come up the levels, then the population is massive. But I find in Cork, everyone has at least 2 interests. Do you know what I mean? Like I would have too much interest in hurling, but I played a lot of soccer, still play a bit of soccer. You know what I mean? Whereas, as I said, I spent a bit of time in Kerry. It's literally religion down there. Like it's all they talk about, man, woman, and child. Like, you know what I mean? It's a way of life. Whereas in Cork, for a lot of it, it's the sport. You know what I mean? Football is a sport. Like I think hurling is number 1, and then at different times you have large pockets playing soccer, rugby, and football. You know what I mean? Like football would be popular in West Cork, North West Cork, and then a couple of clubs in the city. You know what I mean? Like really, like whereas hurling would be east, north, southeast, like stuff like that. And then huge in the city as well. And then rugby is then stretching into West Cork now, which we see a lot of Irish internationals and Munster players from West Cork, which was traditionally just football. Like so, there's a lot of sporting interest in Cork, but that's not an excuse why we can't be successful. You know what I mean? There's a lot of fellas who are passionate about football. It's just, as I said, we just need to probably look at our structures and our underage structures. We changed them around as well a couple of years ago. Is it working? Are we as competitive when we get to intercounty under minor under 20 level? Probably not. So it's probably just re-looking at those structures again and building from there, because you see, like even with the hurling, a strong Cork really adds to the championship. You know what I mean? And I think even probably Kerry misses strong Cork. You know what I mean for that game.
We all do.
Yeah, like because they were some of the best games, the most enjoyable games. Even though we won a couple, drew a couple, lost a couple. Like they were the most enjoyable probably games there, you know, a piping hot day in Killarney. You know, that's full as our Parky Queeve was unbelievable.
Yeah, no, because I've said that to Dan a couple of times. I always remember them games. I think was it, you know, 08, 2009, 2010, you'd be watching like the old tapes back, the old DVDs back, and like the likes of yourself and the Gooch and Paul Galvin and Dan and Noel O'Leary and all going toe to toe. Just really, really good games. And don't get me wrong, Cork have put it up to Kerry in the last couple of games, but it just does feel like, you know, we always just know who's going to win, but it doesn't just seem to be that cut and trust. Very much like the Leinster Championship, don't get me wrong, very much like the Connacht Championship, but it'd be great to see that bit of bite back.
Yeah, like in that time, like it was about 08 to 012 or 07, 6 even. Like we beat them in Parky Queeve a good few times, you know what I mean? So when you're beating them, like you definitely have that belief when you go down to Killarney that you could beat them, you know what I mean? Whereas our lads haven't beat them at all, you know what I mean, really, and they don't even play them in the league. You know, whereas we were constantly playing them in the league on Saturday nights in Parky Ring and stuff like that, where there was a huge atmosphere. And a lot of it was toe to toe at the time, you know what I mean? You would have Molly and Galvin, John Miskell and Declan O'Sullivan, you know, and then we'd be marking the O'Shea's and Tom Sullivan and Aidan O'Mahony and these fellas. Like, so yeah, I think, as I said, like that rivalry is probably dissipated a bit because one, Cork aren't in Division 1, not playing as much, and they're not beating them at all, you know. No, and sometimes that we haven't even been close to them, you know. I think 2021, the loss in Clarny was a record defeat, you know what I mean? Like, so and like we did beat him in the 2020 COVID, but that was a bit of a freak, you know what I mean? A bit of a strange night, you know. And it was an opportunity probably lost to connect with supporters after beating him, you know what I mean? Because there was no one in the stadium. But yeah, I think it's a rivalry that definitely Munster needs anyway. I think and probably a strong Cork in the quarterfinals at least every year would make interesting viewing for everyone.
It's 14 years this September since Cork won that All Ireland. Of course, you were part and parcel of that team, Paul. And kind of when you look back in that time to now, does that ever make you think, "Whoa, that's..." And obviously, a lot of teams haven't won an All Ireland in years and years and years. Like, but you know, it's 14 years. Like, how does that? I suppose that all make you feel, if you get me?
Yeah, Jesus, a different world. Like, you know what I mean? I think I was about 22 or 23, like just a young lad. Like, you know, I think you're like, my father's 2 All Irelands. So after my first one, I was thinking I want to win 3, like I want to win more than him, you know what I mean? But it was a different time. Like around that time, there was 5 different All-Ireland winners in 5 years. You know what I mean? It was Tyrone, Kerry, Donegal, ourselves in the Dubs, all won, you know, from 08, 13. So, and then the Dublin machine kicked off, you know what I mean? So like it was up against probably the second best Kerry team of all time after the goal. Man to man game, which is very popular now, you know what I mean? But then it was just when Donegal played the blanket defence, and then it literally gets up a level, I think, every 3 years at this stage. You know what I mean? It was years. It's unbelievable this year. Even at the club, you see finishing is just unreal. So it's just a different time.
I think your line's a bit dodgy there, Paul. Is your connection okay there? It is. Should be okay.
Up
Just
full there now, yeah.
You're kind of it. Yeah, no, that's 100%. And obviously, you're looking back at that time, and obviously, we talked about some of the footballers there a couple of seconds ago, like the strength of that Cork team, and it was an unbelievable day against Down in Croke Park. Obviously, the rain came down, but that still didn't allow for a bad Cork performance. He's pushed on and done well. So, like, it was a serious day at the office for you.
Yeah, like we didn't play well in the first. We lost the other in 2009, and we steamed through everyone. We were playing unreal and had a great start against Kerry, and then they're just experience and grit ground. So I think we lost by 2 points, maybe, or 2 or 3 points, but it felt like 5 or 6. You know what I mean? We just and then the next year, I just remember the next year, 2010, we also went on a team holiday, and it was just like we weren't really interested in performance. It was just win. You know what I mean? And that suited me. Granted, we win any way we could. We won the league. We lost Munster after a replay to Kerry, and then we went through the qualifiers. Remember in July, we Cavan, Wexford, Limerick, all through July. And then back then, you know, the quarterfinals were the August bank holiday weekend. And that was a big weekend. We had Roscommon, who'd won the Connacht for the first time in ages, you know, Donny Shine and Paul Kerrigan and these lads. And we got through them eventually. I think our experience pulled away from them in the second half and got us through. And then we obviously had a massive game against the Dubs, probably my favourite game in the semi, just before they kicked off. And then we didn't play well against Down. It was a wet September day. I think there were 4 up at half time. And then we just kicked on in the second half, and we always had good subs to come on. You know what I mean? We had Graham Canty came on at centre back, Nicholas Murphy and Derek Kavanagh came on in midfield. You know, they'd been there and done it for the previous 6 or 7, 8 years. And then we had Daniel Goulding and Donald O'Connor, who were always our heavy scorers from play and from frees, and they done business in the second half. So yeah, it was a good day. It was just as I said, the message from the start here was just win, and that's how we got through the final. We just won through frees and through grinding it out, and probably that bit more experience, bit of grit, and it was very much a journey for that team. You know, a lot of them have been on the go since the mid-2000s, losing to the likes of Fermanagh, which that was before they got to the All-Ireland semi, things like that. So yeah, it was a great day. There were great times, like as I said, we had massive games against Kerry, against the likes of Dublin. You know, we beat Tyrone in 2009 as well. They were All-Ireland champions. Like they were just great days, just really enjoyable as a young fella. Like my father played for Cork for 13 years, shows it was a dream come true. Like, you know what I mean, to be at that level. You know, every game was a massive game. You know what I mean? We'd won 3 Division 1 national titles as well over those couple of years, and a Division 2. So we were winning a lot. You know what I mean? We had 3 Munsters, 3 or 4 Munsters as well. So it was just good times. Yeah.
I suppose when you look back on say 2000, 2008, 2009, 2010, with that kind of backdoor, format that was there, and like obviously playing games and be traveling there and having home games, compared to what we have now, like would you like to see that backdoor route brought back, or like what do you think of maybe the structure at the minute?
I like the idea of more games. I'd be all for getting rid of the preseason competitions anyway. You know, teams are playing challenge games as it is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of teams, the top teams don't even put in a full team into the preseason. I'd like to see probably the provincials swap around with the league. To be honest with you, but maybe have them have some reward for provincials. Then maybe you get a couple of more home league games, or something like that, and then the league feel into the championship. I like the format at the moment, but I'd actually probably, I know we have the Sam Maguire and Tailteann Cup. I'd probably like a third grade, and maybe like our Sam Maguire, instead of 16, have 12 teams and be a bit more cutthroat, maybe 3 groups of 4 or something like that, if they could fix it like that. Because I like you saw with the attendances, that word jeopardy was thrown out an awful lot. There probably wasn't enough jeopardy. He spoke about the back door. There was jeopardy every week. You were waiting on the edge of your seat who you were getting the draw. You knew you were going away. Like, and we went to Wexford, they'd been the All-Ireland semi-final 2 years before, and it was a really tough game. Stuff like that. Like, we'd Limerick away, who were really good teams. So I'd like to see it brought back to 12. To be honest with you, maybe 3 groups of 4, and maybe 8 out of the 12 go through to the quarters. Maybe if you're a provincial winner and you get through, you get a home quarter or something like that. I just think because when we saw it, like the teams who didn't make it through this year out of the groups were probably nearly all the bottom seeds anyway. You know what I mean? Like Westmeath, Meath, who had won the Tailteann last year. Who else was in it? That didn't come out of the group, so a lot of them were the bottom seeds anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the back door, there was a lot to be said for compared to potentially what we have now, because
Yeah.
it can be very uninspiring at times, especially with the crowds at the games as well, Paul. I suppose we could touch
Yeah.
on to this weekend's action on Saturday, the 13th of July, in the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship semi-final. It's Armagh against Kerry in Croke Park, at 5, and the game will be live on RTE and BBC. So obviously, old foes of yours, Kerry, going up against Armagh. Armagh's first All-Ireland semi-final since 2005, Paul, so an experience for themselves, and obviously big day for Kerry as well this weekend. So what are we thinking?
I'm thinking straight probably Kerry by 4 or 5, naturally. I think it's a huge day for the Armagh supporters. You know what I mean? I think, as you said, since they haven't been there since 2005, and they've shown to be a really resilient group. They've lost 2 penalty shootouts in 2 Ulster finals and 2 quarterfinals, I think, maybe. So it's a huge day for that team and the supporters. They have a really kind of vocal and supportive group behind them. So it's a huge occasion for them, and it's nice to see that too. I just see Kerry, they've been tipping along nicely. Like, you know what I mean. I'd say when they saw the Dubs be beaten the last day, I think they went out the next day and just not to lose to Derry. They probably see that they have a huge opportunity now to win the All Ireland, and I think it'll be something similar this weekend. I saw Jack O'Connor kind of turn it around. They got a lot of criticism for the way they played. He kind of turned around saying, "Oh, we'd be naive if we didn't mirror the opposition, like pure cute, like yeah, you like to beat Derry by 5 points. I think in the end, with probably the two Cliffords and Sean O'Shea and Tom Sullivan being quiet, you know what I mean, was a really positive thing for them, and they probably feel the bench swung it. That was probably their biggest positive, I'd say. Both Killian Spillane and Dylan Ganey got a point each, but I thought Killian Burke was a real game changer when he came on. He was just something different. It felt like every time he got the ball, there was something going to happen, or there was something going to go off his shoulder, or he could break the line. From like as I said, Kerry saw him in the Munster final. Like they had Cork at arm's length the whole way. You know what I mean? Cork put up a good fight now, especially in the first half. Kerry, like they just tipped along nicely. Like I think Monaghan in the group was the first time they played a Division One team in Championship. You know what I mean? And they absolutely destroyed them at home. And then, you know, they beat Meath, and then just got over Derry the last. The same thing kept them at arm's length. So I think look, they'll have learned a bit. Like I think Armagh have a really good forward line, as good forward line as there. And they've been keeping Stephen Campbell on the bench. I suppose that'll probably hope to negate Kerry's bench press as well. Like you know what I mean. But I would question Kerry defence a little bit, and I think Armagh do the forwards to trouble them. Like Turbot, I think has been outstanding. Like you know, he's probably all-star form. Connolly is really pacey, and I think if you run the Kerry defence, he will threaten them and cause them problems. I think the likes of Rory Grugan, like he's unbelievably clever, great player. Football intelligence is through the roof with him. And then they have big boys around the middle, like Niall Grimley and Ben Creeley are big. They're athletic, similar to Joe O'Connor and Dermot O'Connor really play for Kerry. They're abrasive too. And then like Andrew Murnan comes out and is an unbelievable fielding option for them as well. And then probably the enigma for them is Rian O'Neill. Like he's probably had moments in the championship, but he was taken off again the last day, I think, against Roscommon. So he hasn't really been consistent, but he's just that X factor. If they can get him to that level of the quarter final against Galway a couple of years ago, like they'll need him at that level, to be honest with you, to probably get over Kerry's. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I think in defence then, Aaron McKay has been very good for him. I think he'll go up against Clifford maybe, you know, and he'd probably, we saw the way it was covered, the way Chris McKay marked Clifford the last day. Maybe there was a lot of off the ball stuff. The Kerry crowd weren't too happy with that. You might see a lot of that again. And, you know, I think Paudie Clifford then was very quiet. I think he's playing a bit too deep for him and is slowing it down a little bit every time he gets the ball. You know what I mean? I think he's an unbelievable kick passer, and like he against Dublin in the final last year, it was him who took the fight in the second half. I think he threw from play, and he's a little bit too far back the field. And when he gets it, he kind of solo standing still an awful lot, and he slows it down. And that's not Kerry's strength. Like, so I think they need to get it up to their half-hour line as quick as possible. So you might see someone like Rowan McCambridge on him. You know, he marked it the last day and just took off every time and scored 1-2. So they might do that, or they might put Aidan Farker on him, who's been an unbelievably consistent player the last couple of years, and he's got a couple of scores as well this year. I think he's a fantastic player. They might put him on him, and then you've Sean O'Shea, like who was probably quiet the last. I don't think he'd shot from play like 45 minutes against Derry. So, but he'll always show and he'll always work. He's an unbelievable player. So whether they have the amount of guys to mark them, I think there'll be a lot of Armagh backs in and around Kerry forwards. But they do a forwards to hurt you then Armagh, which is, so I think it'll be interesting. I just hope it won't be like the Derry game. You know what I mean? I hope it'll be a bit more. I hope they'll back their players. Each team will back their players in the work done rather than backing a system or, you know, playing a system to match a system. You know, I think that's missing from the game a little bit at the moment. You know what I mean? You have to maybe back the work you've done and back your players a little bit. You know, Kerry have always done that. So I don't see why they can't. And I think Armagh need to go for it. You know what I mean? They need to go for it against Kerry, just like they did in 2002. You know what I mean? They backed their forwards and they went for it. You know, like I know there's a saying semi-finals are there for winning, but like there's a huge difference in losing a semi-final compared to losing a final life final. You know what I mean? So I do think they have to go for it. You know what I mean? And that, like as I said, I think they have Stephen Campbell on the bench. He's an unbelievable player to bring on. But I just think Kerry, overall, that experience, they'll sniff that opportunity now in All Ireland of avoiding Dublin. And I could see them maybe again, similar to Derry, pulling away by 4 or 5 to win it.
Yeah, it's a good point in terms of, I was saying in the pod earlier on the week that, I think it is, Armagh really do have to go for it because, as I said, like it's the first semi-final since 2005, and if that's not enough incentive, and I keep saying it, probably the clock's probably running basically for Kieran McGeeney at this stage and for a lot of potential of these players. So it's hard to get to an All-Ireland semi-final. It's getting harder every single year, especially with the new format, Paul. So, if they don't throw the kitchen sink at this on Saturday, they will only have themselves to blame.
Yeah, and like he's been there 10 years, and like there's no guarantees they'll get to the All Ireland semi final next year. You know what I mean? Like they in his 10 years, they probably haven't got over the line in a huge game yet. They haven't won an Ulster. They beat Roscommon to get to a semi. Getting to a semi is a big achievement for them. But like I don't think Roscommon would win the All Ireland. You know what I mean? They're not a Kerry, Galway, Dublin. You know what I mean? I think like if Armagh were drawn against one of them in the quarters, I don't think they would have got over it. So I agree wholeheartedly. They have to go for it. Like there's no guarantees they'll be back here. You know what I mean? And that team has been on the road a long time with that management. And now they have found a couple of players, but I just think like I would just be like I think the Armagh people would be so disappointed they didn't just have a cut off it. Now within reason at the weekend, a lot of the games have been tight, and then the last quarter the intensity picks up. But I just think they need to back their forwards, and when they go early, we saw it a couple of years ago, and then they kind of went back into their shell. They are unbelievably dangerous. So look, I think they'll feel that they have the six forwards to trouble a Kerry six backs. You know what I mean? And hopefully we see them go for a little bit.
Yeah, and obviously the Kerry-Derry game the last day. Do you feel if the game, if it's like that game this weekend, do you feel Kerry could still get over the line? Obviously, Kerry did find ways to basically win that game the last day, and it did not make for pretty viewing. Do you feel if Armagh basically do what Derry done the last day, Kerry could probably get over the line here, as you did say?
I do think I think Derry are probably better at playing the Derry game than Armagh are playing the Derry game. You know what I mean? So I think I like Jack O'Connor doesn't care. He's like shit. He once they're winning All Ireland and Kerry, that's all that matters. Like, and another final, they'll be their favourites this weekend. They'll be favourites for the final regardless if they win. So I just don't think he'll care. You know what I mean? I just think they look to control, like just keep it tight at the back and then just tip over points because they have the forwards. If you give them a little bit of space, they'll show, and they have the free takers. They just have three of the probably top six forwards in the game. Like, you know what I mean? So he'll be happy just to keep it tight probably, and just to keep a little bit 1-2 points ahead of him. You know what I mean? And if Armagh have to come out and play then, and they're chasing the game like that, that will suit them down to the ground. They'll clip points, and we saw they have the bench. So I don't think Jack gives a shit. As I said, like he'll be happy if it's a Derry game like the last day. None of us will enjoy that. You know what I mean? It was fairly torturous viewing for 75 minutes, and they won't care. You know what I mean? They won't care. There'll be a lot of the final. That's all that matters.
Yeah, and obviously, kind of talk going into this game of Rian O'Neill, and do you stick him inside, or like, what would you do with that man this weekend? Because there has been a lot of debate about where you play him and where's the best position, and if you're talking maybe because I'm going to have Kerry this weekend, surely full forward line.
Yeah, maybe. Jason Foley was in a lot of trouble against Shane Wigan the last day. You know what I mean? So if he's in there, if you throw him in there with Turbot like that gives him a lot of questions. You know what I mean? I think if you've Rian O'Neill in there with Turbot, they're probably Paul Murphy and Tom Sullivan are probably smaller cornerbacks. You know what I mean? So they have that option for the longer ball. He reminds me a bit of Austin Gleeson, the hurling Rian O'Neill. He goes all over the place, and he hasn't really settled into one position. Now that can be useful. Like when I was playing myself, I was maybe been constantly rotating the forward line, but he seems to be rotated out from the midfield to full forward. And I was listening to Aidan O'Shea in the week, and he said he's something similar. You know what I mean? Your start full forward, we can't win the ball in midfield, so you have to go out. You know what I mean? And that can be tricky. So I actually like to see him around the half forward line, to be honest with you, because he's a kick out option from. He's a huge long range kicker, and then he can come in the burst like that goal. I think was it against Derry in the championship, or sorry, not against Derry. Up in the Ulster Championship, he got a goal. Was it against? low anyway. I think in the Ulster semi-final, he powered through. I just think he has that in his locker as well. So I do think they have in Niall Grimley and Ben Creedy, two big bodies in midfield that they can do without him anyway. You know what I mean? So yeah, and if he's in and around that forward line, it's the likes of Connaughty and Rory Grugan will benefit because that means your Kerry's third or fourth or fifth defender is picking them up as opposed to their first or second. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I'd like to see him half forward to answer your question.
And is it a case of Kerry haven't been tested yet, or Kerry kind of haven't got out of the traps themselves yet, or feel they don't need to yet? I know obviously they could have pushed on against Derry, or is it nearly as simple as this, Paul? Sometimes with Kerry, if David Clifford doesn't show up and play well and doesn't kick 7, 8 worldies, like is that nearly a testament of Kerry not moving well, or is that maybe the standards of Clifford, or it's yeah?
It probably is the standards of Clifford a bit. You know what I mean? They're definitely probably out of the traps now. You know what I mean? But as I said, the two Cliffords, Sean O'Shea and I said Tom Sullivan were quiet the last day. And if you told me they were going to be quiet against or Derry, you would have said they'd probably be beaten. So it just shows the quality they have around them. I think their new midfield partnership has been really good this year. Joe O'Connor's been back from injury. I think he had a cruciate last year, and he's put on a massive size, and his engine has gone massive as well. He's just a fierce workhorse, and he's very abrasive. I think he'll pick up if Rian O'Neill's midfield. I think he could pick him up. You know what I mean? I think he's that kind of tagger or shutdown merchant. He could do that. And then Diarmuid O'Connor I played against him in 2009. He was very young, but he's a really classy player. He's put on huge size as well. He's an unbelievable footballer. I would kind of see him as more of a forward than a midfielder. He's just so big. He can play around the middle. So they have real depths. And Gavin White, Gavin White has been quiet enough for him as well compared to last year. So I think it's a testament to the rest of mine. It's probably easy to talk down. I would talk down their defence a little bit, but that would be as a unit against the 6 Armagh forwards. But some of the other players, Bruno Begley, again came back into the team, man of the match the last day. They have quality there. You know what I mean? And if you step off them, they can play. That's what I always found. If you step off the Kerry backs, there'll be no back standing inside the full back line who won't want the ball. They'll all step forward and want the ball and step up and come off each other's shoulder. So yeah, and then just on the Clifford thing, he has those days. He was quiet against Cork and Munster, and they still got through without him. And Paddy Clifford was relatively quiet that day as well, but it was Sean O'Shea who stepped up. He's probably the guy who makes everything tick, I think, from Sean O'Shea. He's unbelievable player. Don't just up close against Cork and Clarny. His showing for the ball was just unbelievable. When they needed someone to show, and he held it, got scores, won frees, laid it off. He's a really important player for him. I think he influences the game a bit more when he's not scoring compared to the other the two Cliffords. Do you know what I mean? I think that's what's key for him.
Yeah. And do you feel maybe from Armagh's point of view, Paul, this weekend, if they aren't to get over the line this weekend and the potential play within themselves and go back to this sort of negative kind of nonsense really to a degree, do you feel this could be the last chance saloon for this Armagh group, or can you see them coming back to the well again next year, or what do you think?
Yeah, as I said, I mentioned at the very start, they are resilient. You know what I mean? I do think they will come back, and I think the resilience, if it was ever, it's just led by their manager. You know what I mean? He was playing for years in the 90s before they eventually got over the line. And I think they will want him to come back. They have Kieran McKeever, who's an unbelievable Armagh player and servant in the background as well, and Donny. You know what I mean? So they've probably 3 legends of the game. Who are probably kind of at the forefront of thinking for coaching and football as well. So, I do think they'll give it one more go. I don't think they'll win this weekend. I do think they'll give it one more go. You know what I mean? To get back to a semi-final would be another huge achievement for them. I think, even though I do think winning an Ulster would probably be nearly the ultimate for this team at the moment. You know what I mean? So, as I said, it's a huge occasion. The traditional saying, play the game, not the occasion. But let's just hope they don't get swept up in it. I think they'll come back regardless next year. They've some really good players there. As I said, Oisin Connaughty, these guys, Rian O'Neill's young, Oisin O'Neill is coming through again. So they have good players, and I think they'd be eager to hold on to McGeady if they gave even a bad display this weekend. But it'd be up to himself, you know what I mean, and probably the county board as well.
Was the last one, Paul, when you kind of look at David Clifford and how good he is, like, I suppose from a Cork man, like, and I suppose, like, would you be envious at how good he is, or are you kind of enjoying him, if you get me?
Yeah, he's you obviously be envious. Yeah, he's a great player. He's just a great head and shoulders. You know what I mean? He's just like some fellas are just naturally can hold that weight of expectation or weight of responsibility. You know what I mean? Like I just from my own time, he reminds me when he talks very much of our captain Graham Canty when he was over us with
Mm,
Cork. He just he just holds that weight of expectation for everyone. Like he seems to be holding the weight of expectation of the county on his shoulders. You know what I mean? Like, and it doesn't bother him, and he's a young child at home, like, which is unbelievable going to be playing inter-county at that level. Like, um, and I think like he's a joy to watch. He takes punishment every game. I would have seen him coming up through the schools from my time teaching, and there's always prodigies come through schools, but to see probably one of the greatest Gaelic players ever, and he's only in his mid 20s is unbelievable. So, like when he's playing well, it's a joy to watch. But equally, last year I was at the All Ireland final last year. Mick Fitzsimons was on him, you know what I mean, and he was forcing him to shoot wide, and it showed he was human as well. You know what I mean, and seeing that gives hope to everyone else. Even Dan O'Mahony for Cork this year had a very good game and a full back in Clarny, knocked an awful lot of balls out of his possession. So um, he just he strikes me as a fella. No matter how bad of a game or things are not going well, at the end of the game, he'll still be the fella. Like Derry in the semi final a couple of years ago, he just was the guy just to get me the ball, and that's the moment he wants. You know what I mean? Regardless, you know.
to ask you, the All Ireland final last year, and obviously Paul Finn said that Mick Fitzsimons toasted or roasted
Yeah.
David Clifford. I don't know. I don't know. Was it an off day for Clifford, or was it a good day for Mick Fitz? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know a bit of both. I was in down by the goal in the second half, and they were just wide. Like, you know what I mean. They were if they were a meter or two the other way, like Kerry beat the All Ireland champions. You know what I mean. I think Fitzsimons used all his experience there. He wasn't roughing him up, but he was making him shoot from difficult angles, running away from goal, which is something I think you could learn from. You know what I mean? Whoever's marking, but like as I said, they weren't that far wide. You know what I mean? So I just thought it was a great battle. You spoke about going toe to toe before. Two boys went toe to toe inside, and it was unreal to see. It was down by my end, where I was sitting, and just when you're marking a guy like that as a forward, you're marking a defender like that, you win some, you lose some. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
probably if Fitzsimons came out and was a huge cog in Dublin winning the All Ireland that day. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we'll look into Sunday's action, Paul, in the All Ireland Senior Football Championship semi final. It's Donegal against Galway in Croke Park at 4 p.m. Of course, game will be live on RT and BBC. Suppose Paul going into this one, it's an incredible achievement by Jim McGuinness to get this Donegal group back to an All Ireland semi final, especially after last year. And my God, if he gets to an All Ireland final, that would probably be one of the great sport achievements, has to be said. But against a very good Pork Joyce Galway team, it's going to be good.
Yeah, I wouldn't say both teams are in bonus territory, but like to think of like if you laid out the years that they would have had to start with to be in All Ireland semi final, both with a great chance, probably 50-50 of getting to a final, like they were thought unbelievable year. Donegal, first year of a new project, absolutely rock bottom last year. You know what I mean? To to go through the league and win the league and get promoted, win Ulster, the minefield that it is on penalties. You know what I mean? Hit the roadblock against Cork and losing the groups, and then come through to the All Ireland semi final. It's kind of a bit of a fairy tale here. Their first semi in 10 years. So like, it's unbelievable. And like they always kept Loud at arm's length last week. You know what I mean? They never looked like they were going to lose. And then on the Galway side, probably the team I'd be hoping that would win the All Ireland for the year they had. Like to survive relegation Division One was an unbelievable achievement. I thought like they had some days they didn't even have enough subs to fill the match day program, like which was unreal. And to avoid relegation, then come through and beat Mayo, their greatest rivals in the Connacht's final. Was showing a great bit of momentum towards the end of the game to win it late, and then to say they beat Dublin, knock out the All Ireland champions, again showing great momentum coming through late in the game. Was unbelievable. Like and like how they're doing it with their injuries. Like it's not as if it's all their best players are injured. Like it's all their leaders, their best players. Walsh, Comer, Finnerty, Sean Kelly. There's no John Daly there. Like Killian McDade, I think that was his first 70 minutes in a year against Dublin. Like, you know what I mean? what they're doing is incredible, I think, you know what I mean? So it's going to be a massive game for both of them, you know, and I think as like you go back to Jim McGuinness, we saw on social media after the Ulster final for the homecoming, he was on about going for the All Ireland now. And he would think, why not? Like they have such a great chance in the semi. They both have great chances. So probably looking forward to this one, maybe a little bit more than the Kerry Armagh one. So yeah, it'd be interesting how it goes really.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people are saying. This game will be better than the Kerry Armagh game potentially. Galway and the things, Paul. Obviously, we've seen the former Shane Walsh the last day out. Obviously, went off injured and he kicked some absolute beauties in the first half, as we said. And obviously, the former Damien Comer as well. I did say before the Dublin game, like if you have them, both of them men fit, you could really go on and do great things. And Galway have done great things.
They've done unbelievable things. Like they've just a team that looks like they're playing for each other, or playing for the manager. You know what I mean? And they have some momentum behind them. Like just after beating Dublin now, so the only thing they'd be worried about maybe is having a lull. You know what I mean? After such a high performance against Dublin, they've just stuck at it all year. I think this kind of resilience has been kind of embellished by Paul Conroy and John Maher around the middle. I think they've been unbelievable. Like I think Conroy is about 34 now. You know what I mean? He's still going at that level. And Maher has been unbelievable. He's just took the fight to every team they played. He's just ran hard, worked the socks off, and kept going at Dublin last year or the last day was just unbelievable. And Conroy missed a couple and then eventually stuck at it and they went over for him. I think they've just they've been the shining light really. And then we always speak about their forward line. If they had everyone fit, they'd be probably the second best forward line in the country. But their defence has been very, very good. You know, I think their two wing backs, Dylan McHugh's been unbelievable all year. Like he's probably after Peadar Morgan, probably the best wing back in the country like this year. Just been so consistent, never gives the ball away, really safe and Sean Mulcairn probably came of age against Dublin last time wing back. And then two tall physical players, like you know what I mean, and then they have plenty of man markers in the defence. You have Silk, Johnny McGrath, Glynn, like they're as pacey and tenacious as anyone. They'll stick with anyone, you know what I mean? So they're just doing great things. It's just if they can get it together for 2 weeks, like the difference between 3 and 2 weeks for a small injury is massive. You know what I mean? The lowest grade hamstring is always 3 weeks, and things like that. So it'll be just interesting. Like even Sean Kelly went off after 20 minutes the last day. I thought Walsh was only in third or fourth gear. Like I didn't think he sprinted full out for the full game at all. You know what I mean? He still kicked all those points. And then Comer was well held by McMahon from Dublin, but just kept at it at the end, forcing turnovers and tackling. I know it's probably a case of I know they're injured, but just having him on the field, even one of Walsh or Comer and then vice versa is probably a great lift to everyone else. You know what I mean? Just that presence because they need minding and probably just lifts the crowd and stuff like that as well. So look, they'll need them, as many of them as they can on the field because their bench is young. Darcy and Tom Culhan are young coming on, and Matty Tierney was held as well the last day. So look, it'll be a hard ask for them, but if anyone can do what they can after their game the last day, you know what I mean? I'd say they'll all be bursting to get on the field, probably physio twice a day, job for the 2 weeks, and doing all they can to get on the field.
Shane Walsh, very much like David Clifford, Paul, it has to be said.
Yeah.
And I'd be very much of the opinion if David Clifford and Shane Walsh weren't playing our game at the minute, it'd be a very, very boring game without them.
Yeah, 100%. Like I would have came across Shane in the international rules, and he's just like, yeah, he's just different. Just players, some players were just different. Like just the balance off both feet, the acceleration off both feet, and then the technique off both feet is just unbelievable. He just it's like he's playing his own game sometimes. You know what I mean? Like it's almost toying with the fellas he's marking, and you see him even with the club. You see him on telly a bit more now with the club, and he gets some goals and scores for them is just unbelievable. Like and you're right. Like he's probably a bit more exciting than Clifford with ball in hand because he could do absolutely anything. Clifford is probably more metronomic, like you know what I mean. He's that arc of a kick that he can kick from anywhere on both sides of the field. But Shane Walsh can dink both ways. He can stop and go. He's a joy to watch. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a remarkable talent, and obviously Damien Comer as well. Paul, he's been,
Yeah,
and the both boys are 30 now, and obviously the football clock when you get to when you get to 30s, even club football to a degree, when you hit your 30s, a lot of people seem to just retire you fairly quickly. But
yeah,
you them pair of boys do need to kind of cash in now for the next couple of years, really.
yeah. For those, it's now or never. And Pádraig Joyce might decide to pack it in. I don't know. Is he living in Kildare at the moment, or he's probably doing a lot of traveling. Keane O'Neill is traveling from Cork. You know what I mean? So it might be the end for that group team management in the next year or two, or even this game. You don't know. And you spoke about being 30. Those injuries, like they kind of they're harder and longer to come back from the older you get. You know what I mean? And the thing is, they probably have a bit more of an effect on you for longer. You know what I mean? It probably takes you a little bit to get right. So it's Paul Conroy 34. It could be now or never for a lot of that group. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Could be now or never. Now they have brought Phyllis through from the under 20 All Ireland a couple of years ago, but in terms of Walsh, Comer, Pádraig Joyce, Paul Conroy, these lads, it could be. Yeah.
Donegal end of things, Paul. Obviously, it's remarkable going up last year, and who would have thought they were obviously with Jim McGuinness coming in, you didn't think it was going to be as quick with the success that they have had. They've played an enjoyable brand of football. The likes of Peter Mogan has just been sensational this year. Obviously, the former Ryan McHugh, you've Oisin Gallen, Paddy McBird as usual, but Mogan has just been. I think you'd be a fan of him.
Yeah, he's player of the year for me, to be honest with you. He's like he's like they cloned Ryan McHugh from a few years ago and just gave him a little bit more pace. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
The way that he's just like he could have fitted into that Donegal team 2012, the way he plays. He's just unbelievable, and his finishing and his composure in front of goal is just unbelievable. Something to be admired as well. Just like the whole team, they've ultimate belief in their management and their setup, which makes a huge difference to where they've come from. You know what I mean? Just the turn has been in 1 year has been remarkable. Like their conditioning is excellent, and their game plan suits them. They have a lot of runners. They don't have too many natural defenders. You know what I mean? Like the last day against Loud, they got 1-7, I think, from McHugh, Morgan, and Owen Bond. Do you know what I mean? So like, and then they got 5 from their midfield. So like they kind of they get scores from everywhere. And it's just the way they play. I suppose they're up and down in waves. They go really slow. They wait for a one-on-one or a little bit of space and inject huge pace. Then, do you know what I mean? They have a lot of bodies forward, and Patrick Morgan is a fella who does that the most and does it the best, and does it the most regularly for them. Like he's just one of those defenders, or wherever he plays, he just has a knack of scoring. Every time he takes a shot, you just remember Lee Keegan or Tomas O'Shea. Anytime they took a shot, they seemed to score. You know what I mean? Which is a killer for a forward. But he's just been unbelievable. He's a joy to watch. And he's small in height, like kind of defies the natural intercounty player now, which is good to see as well. You know what I mean? It shows fellas like him can really be the best players in the game. And then you mentioned Oisin Gallen, like he's absolutely flying. You know what I mean? He had 4 points the last day. McBlairty's probably slowed up a bit in the scoring stakes. He's probably doing a bit more of the team stuff. He's carrying a lot of ball and he's shoveling it off, whereas he would have been a real kind of shoot on sight guy before. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
would you like to see McBurdy kind of push up and actually take these shots on and be the old Paddy McBurdy, I suppose?
Yeah, I think it was like I saw him carrying a lot of ball from midfield up the last day. You're getting to a certain age, but like I see with Brian Hurley with Cork a lot. He's back the field a lot,
Mm.
so you're back defending, trying to get up the field, and then you're doing a long run to get forward, and then trying to do your short, sharp stuff again to get away from that and get a shot off. I'd like to see him stay up there. I think they'll probably need him to stay up there a little bit more. You know what I mean? But he's, I suppose, him being doing a bit more of the team stuff has opened up is for Oisin Gallen, who's been unbelievable this year for them. You know what I mean? He's been their main man up front. As I said, got 4 points the last day. So I would like to see Paddy McBurty to stay up there. I'd like to see forwards stay up there all the time. Keep a couple up there all the time. We spoke about Clifford. He doesn't come back too often past the halfway line. You know what I mean? So yeah, something similar. You know what I mean? Would be good. But I think Galway maybe you would say have the better individuals. You know what I mean? If they're all fit, whereas Donegal play really kind of as a collective. So it'll be an interesting clash of styles as we go ahead. And like I think, bar the Derry game at the start of the year, Donegal have struggled on their long kick out, even though Patton has an absolutely huge boot. A lot of their scoring chances came off the short ones against Louth. So I think Galway will probably want to push up and make it go along. You know what I mean? On top of like Maher, Dylan McHugh, Paul Conroy, where they have big boys around there. So I think that'll be interesting too.
The last thing on it, Paul, like it is a remarkable achievement for Jim McGuinness, and so we're not surprised maybe by the success that he has brought to Donegal and where they are now, and especially after last year, as I did say, Paul, like it is really remarkable going.
Yeah, I just think like even like the Northern teams are amazing that they can just turn it around within a year. You know what I mean? Like when even when Rory Gallagher had Derry, like they were turned around within 2 years. You know what I mean? Whereas down in Cork or somewhere like that, it seems we have to hit rock bottom for 2 or 3 or 4 years before we start to turn it around slowly. Um, like in one way, I'm not really surprised like that he turned it around. I did think they would be very competitive in Ulster. The only thing that I think would have went against them in Ulster was the draw that they had to go through to win it. You know what I mean? They literally had to beat the three best teams really, and they did that. Did I think they'd make an All Ireland semi final? Probably not, but they're definitely there on merit. And there's like as I said, it'll be 50-50. They could easily make the final. You know what I mean? And as I said, like speaking to people here, I wasn't surprised at the turnaround because they did have a lot of good players. You know what I mean? Like, I even thought Michael Murphy might hang around for a year with him. You know what I mean? But like they always have a bit of potential. They always have their kind of style of player. You know what I mean? They have a couple of skillful lads, and then they have plenty of lads who are pacey. You know what I mean? We saw that throughout the league. So, like, it's just been an amazing turnaround. I'd say for the players, they're an absolute high. And like I can remember back in the day going on trips and seeing the Donegal guys looking up the way they looked and spoke to McGuinness. They obviously were in awe of him, admired him. And I'd say there's probably double now. You know what I mean? They've heard all the stories and now they've seen the turnaround in 12 months. It's probably they'd go through a wall from him and they'll do anything as that he'll ask, and it'll be interesting to see what he asks them to do against the Galway team weekend. Like,
Oh, Paul, what are we thinking? Is it going to be the Hills of Donegal, Blair over Croke Park on Sunday evening, or the Saw Doctors?
oh geez, I was thinking Galway all along. Like the more I'm getting closer, like, it's getting closer and closer. Like I think I'm thinking Galway. Just stick with Galway by 1 or 2, I'd say. But I think it'll be close. I'm looking forward to that game, though. To be honest with you.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's definitely going to be tight, Paul. It is definitely going to be tight. I suppose last game of the weekend, Paul, in the Tailteann Cup final, it's Laois against Down at Croke Park at 3 p.m. Of course, game will be live on RTE. Interesting game, Paul. I think Down definitely favourites going into it. I think a lot of learners from last year, Conor Lafferty will be very tunnel vision this year. But look at Justin McNulty on the other hand. God knows what could happen.
Yeah, like I actually would have watched a lot of Down for some reason last year in the Tailteann Cup. I thought they were unbelievably impressive. You know, the kind of the incision or the angles of running they had when they were attacking, they cut teams apart at different stages. Like Danny McGill, I thought was unbelievably impressive last year. And then I thought they kind of stalled a bit this year. I remember watching them against Westmeath in the Division 3 final, and they just ran out of ideas, I thought, you know, and Westmeath eventually wore them down. And obviously that was kind of like almost like a Sam Maguire qualifier, you know what I mean? And would have been kind of interested. I was kind of interested to see their reaction. Would they fall off? Like Laverty's, he's a kind of different kind of guy. You know what I mean? He's intense. Um, he's a big personality for a smaller guy. You know what I mean? He's obviously a GA fanatic. I think he was a GDA in his work. You know what I mean? So he's just like to be coaching and still playing. He's a serious operator. You know, he was over the down underage teams as well, so he'd have seen a lot of them. Yeah, I find it hard to look past them now. Their reaction after that Division 3 final has been very good. You know, I do think they are a Sam Maguire team. I do think they're in the top 16. I think they're about 15th or 16th in the country. So I do expect them to win. But we were speaking about turnarounds with Donegal. Like the turnaround with Laois has been unbelievable. You know what I mean? I think was it last year Down absolutely battered them in the Tailteann Cup. But they've been very impressive. You know, I watched them in the league final against Leitrim, and they were well over my thought. And they've just gone from strength to strength really throughout the Tailteann Cup. And like I think Evan O'Carroll full forward is as good as anyone there really. Like so, he'll take first minding. So like, I think it'll be an interesting game. I think Laois like have done unbelievably well to get here. I think they'll be really happy with their year promotion and to the final of this. But I think Down will be looking to make strides forward now over the next couple of years. You know what I mean? Start they're in Division 2 now next year. I think they'll survive definitely next year, and I think they'll be looking to push on from Ulster because they were probably disappointed with their Ulster performance. You know, it was a very dour one against Armagh at the start of the year, if I can remember. So yeah, I think Down to win it. I think it's a great competition, to be honest with you, and I think they'll go up.
Yeah, and obviously that kind of project under Conor Lafferty really is kind of coming fruition next year. You know, next year they could really potentially get to an Ulster final. God only knows.
Yeah. I think you will. Again, it's that kind of Ulster effect where they can turn things around in 2 or 3 years fairly quick. Like they obviously have players at good quality underage. They have a lot of the Kilcoo boys now. You know what I mean? I think that was an issue before. Um, so I think they're definitely on the way up. You know, I think they're like spoke about Cork. They just need to evolve a little bit more as they go up the divisions over, and if they want to get to that level. But I do think they're a level above Laois. Unfortunately, you know, I hope it isn't as, and I don't think it'll be as big a gap as last year when they played. But I do think them to come out maybe 5, 6, 7 winners, point winners again.
Mm. Was 2 years into the Total Cup, Paul, and you are impressed by the competition, and you feel it is here to stay.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's a great competition. I think in fairness to the managers of every team, like they've come out and defended it and said it's a really, really good competition. Like Andy Moore and Leitrim and like McConville, Wicklow, these lads, you know, and McNulty with Laois, like they're involved, and if they're keeping their players interested, you know what I mean. And it's you know, if they get the rewards for it, you know what I mean. The winner gets a trip away as a team, which is really good, really important, and they're getting. I thought it was nice as well that they had their game in Croke Park. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
that was important. You know what I mean? And I think it was good that they fought for it. Now it's the GA's problem that it clashed with hurling, but I do think they deserve their day in Croke Park like that. And that is a huge look for a player. You know what I mean? Especially at that level, who mightn't get to play there too often if they get to a league final, or else if they're playing in the Leinster Championship. So I think it's a great competition. Now I do think there was a couple of hammerings as well. You know what I mean? I
Mm.
just spoke earlier about maybe having 3 grades. I don't know, maybe in the group stages of the Tailteann Cup, the bottom 2 teams or whoever's knocked out go into a 3rd grade competition, you know, and they have a final in Croke Park maybe or something like that. But yeah, like, you know, we even saw Waterford getting good results who are our neighbours here in Cork, you know what I mean, who've had an unbelievably tough couple of years. So like it's great, and you know, like when you have a victory like that or you've progressed it, you've something to build on for the following year.
Yeah, absolutely, Paul. Absolutely. So was your kind of your good few years out of the game now? Did you miss the playing aspect of things?
I do, yeah. I was down in Clarny now for the Cork game, and we were having a few pints outside in the street. The sun was bit the stones, and the fella asked, "Would you rather be on the bus or rather be here?" And it's kind of funny. I'd rather be on the bus still playing. And when you're on the bus, sometimes you'd rather be out in the street. But I do miss it. Yeah, like I suppose from my point of view, when you were playing inter-county, it gives you very much a good sense of purpose. You know what I mean? Like you're eating, sleeping, drinking water. You're going to recovery. You're not going to other
Mm.
places. It might be weddings and stuff like that. But I never minded that. You know what I mean? I love that sense of purpose. And then like the training was always high quality. And then you have the big games. Like when things are going well and you're going to Crow Park regularly for big games, it's like it's very hard to beat. Like it's hard to describe really.
Yeah. Coaching, managing, what are you thinking?
Yeah, like I would have been coaching in the school there for about, geez, 9 or 10 years. Then we would have been relatively successful. We had our second child there 2 years ago, so when I went back to the masters, so I took time out. But she's 2 now, and I've finished that, so I'll probably get back into it now and again next year. You know what I mean? Something I was always interested in, kind of um, like the idea of managing a bit more than coaching now at this at the moment. So, but you'd have to do a bit of both. So, probably definitely get involved in the club at some stage, you know, and you'd love to help out with Cork at underage in some capacity when the time is right. So, yeah, it's something definitely you'll have to like. I couldn't see myself not being involved in the game, like you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's impossible, Paul. It's
Yeah.
impossible. Paddy Cumley up there, hardly still playing, is he? Good Cavan man, hardly.
Yeah, he's down in Tralee now.
Okay.
He's after moving down there. Yeah, Paddy was a good servant to us. He was as he said himself, he joined our club, More Rangers. He's the first overage player. So he, like a lot of players come through underage, he went from junior B to junior 18 to senior, all in his mid-30s, which was unbelievable. We got an unbelievable couple of years out of him.
Yeah.
He's still friendly with a lot of guys there. Yeah, he's moved down to Tralee now. I think his young fella's living with his young fella down there, playing a bit of hurling as well and everything. So he's really changed. Yeah, so he was a good Nemo man in fairness when he was there, and good crack especially, which was just as important.
Yeah, serious left foot. He's just from a small place in Cavan here, it'd be West Cavan, like, and you could literally blink and you'd miss it. Like, it's gas. So he's such a talented footballer, but
Yeah, no,
yeah,
he don't want the left foot. Like,
class.
yeah, it's just he would just kick the ball different. I remember a couple he played a league game out in the club, and he was just going through and he jabbed just from about 30 yards, lobbed the keeper
Unreal.
for a goal, stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
he just yeah, he was a talented player. Yeah, he was and a great addition and great help to us when we got to the All Ireland club. We lost the Corofin obviously, but he had an unbelievable year that year, especially in Munster. He kind of got injured in the semi, but yeah, brought great experience. Just brought something different. You know what I mean? An outside lad like that just had a different perspective, and we all got the benefit of it.
Yeah, classy footballer. Well, Paul Kerrigan, thanks a million for joining me this week. And of course, the podcast is brought to you by yourgarage.com. Use your Gemma podcast to get 15% off on the website coming into the All Ireland semi finals and Tailteann Cup final this weekend. Gears have organised on orgaretro.com. Paul, thank you very much.
No matter. Thanks a million.